Have a seat, today's tea is bitter, but still sweeter than the price the villain in this story is about to pay. May's red ledger has just turned to a new page. Are you ready to claim justice with Reddit revenge tales? Would you keep paying for a brand new house if you found out your marriage broke inside it just 5 months after you moved in? I'm Lauren. We moved in September, fresh paint, new floors, 2 toddlers, and the usual new build fixes. A door that wouldn't latch, missing screens, little things like that. So there was one person I kept texting with the guy assigned to our home, and somewhere between "what time can you stop by" and "the kids are at preschool," I crossed a line I can't uncross. Now my husband is staring at the mortgage like it's a verdict. Keep the house for the kids, or walk away because every room feels different. If you want the full story, how it started, what he noticed first, and the moment everything snapped, subscribe and come with me. My name is Lauren. I'm 38, a stay-at-home mom, the kind who knows everyone's shoe size and nobody's adult conversation schedule. Matt works in IT and goes into the office 3 days a week. We have 2 little kids. Ava is 4, Miles is 2. So most days are a loop of cereal, backpacks, car seats, and trying not to lose my patience before 9 a.m. We moved into our new construction house in September, in a quiet suburb with an HOA that emails about trash bins like it's a crime. Everything was new paint that still smelled clean, floors that hadn't been scratched yet, neighbors who waved but didn't really know you. From the outside, it looked like we made it, and I kept telling myself that should be enough. But standing alone in that bright, untouched kitchen, I felt strangely out of place, like I'd moved into someone else's life and forgot how to belong in it. That out-of-place feeling didn't hit Matt the way it hit me. He threw himself into the backyard like it was a second job he actually enjoyed. Every weekend, he was out there hauling bags, leveling ground, dragging gravel from the driveway in a wheelbarrow, like he had something to prove. He built a little playground area, tightened bolts, checked the fence line, hooked up the downspouts, so we wouldn't end up with the same soggy mess we had at our old house. Ava loved it. She'd sit on the patio step with a juice box and say, "Daddy, this house is amazing," like she was reviewing a hotel. I was usually inside wiping counters that were already clean, scrolling on my phone, answering preschool emails, feeling time moved too fast and too slow at the same time. That's when the warranty stuff started. Sticking doors, missing screens, small fixes that needed the builder's guy. His name was Eric. At first, I texted him because I had to, then I realized I was texting him, even when I didn't. After that, Eric became the person attached to every little problem in our perfect new house. The door to the mudroom wouldn't latch unless you lifted it. 2 window screens never showed up. A thin crack appeared near the baseboard. Settling. He called it like the house was just getting comfortable. Eric always answered fast, polite, calm. He didn't make me feel stupid for asking. "No problem. Lauren, I get it." That was his thing, I get it. And I didn't realize how hungry I was to hear that, until someone finally said it. Somewhere between pictures of a stuck latch and me venting about 2 toddlers and no sleep. The texts got softer, more personal. I'd send something, then wait. Phone faced up on the counter like it mattered. One afternoon, I scrolled back and deleted a few messages, not because they were explicit, just because it looked like too much. I told myself I was cleaning up. That was the first time I hid anything. Once I'd crossed that tiny line, the next ones didn't look as bright. A Tuesday morning, Matt left early for the office. I did the usual shoes, snacks, wrestling Miles into his seat, Ava's backpack with her name written in Sharpie. At preschool drop-off, I smiled at the other moms like I was fine. Then I sat in the car for a second longer than normal, staring at my phone. On the drive home, I texted Eric. "The bedroom door is still sticking. It's driving me crazy." He replied almost instantly, "I can swing by." 15 minutes. In and out. 15 minutes. That's what I told myself, too. Back at the house, I started moving faster, wiping the kitchen island, straightening the throw blankets, picking up toys that weren't even in the way. I kept checking the clock like I was waiting for a delivery. Halfway through, I stopped with a dish towel in my hand and thought, clear as day, who am I getting the house ready for? When Eric pulled up, I opened the door too fast, like I'd been standing there waiting. He was holding a screen frame and a small tool bag, wearing the same builder polo he always wore. He stepped inside like he'd done it 100 times, eyes flicking over the entryway. The new floors, the family photos we hadn't even hung yet. Want some water? I asked. It was automatic suburb manners. He smiled like that was normal too, while he worked. We talked the way people do when they don't want silence. He asked, casual, how's married life in a new build? And I answered more than I should have. About being tired, about feeling invisible, about Matt always being outside or at work. Eric didn't interrupt. He just nodded and said, yeah, I get it. When he left, the house felt unusually quiet, like the air had shifted. I picked up my phone and saved his number as warranty. Eric, like a little label, could keep it harmless. After that, the texts stopped being only about doors and screens. It was still wrapped in house stuff. But the timing changed. Night, early morning, little check-ins that didn't need a fix attached to them. I started saying things I hadn't said out loud in years. That I didn't recognize myself after 2 kids. That my days were all snacks and diapers and wiping spills. And I couldn't remember the last time someone asked how I was, not just how the kids were. Eric's replies were simple, never flowery, never dramatic, just present. Then one day he sent a line that landed too hard for how small it was. You know, you're still really attractive. Right. My first instinct was to hide my smile. My second was to hide the message. I didn't tell Matt. I didn't tell anyone. And slowly, in little moments, Matt started to feel irritating. Not because he changed, because I did. That night, I watched him sleeping and felt like I was looking at a stranger. I used to love watching Matt sleep, and feeling nothing scared me. So I did what I always do when I'm scared. I tried to control something small. I told him we needed curtains in the bedroom for the look. The truth was, I couldn't stand how open the windows felt during the day, like the whole neighborhood could see, and even though no one was looking, I picked thick ones, heavy, the kind that make a room darker than it should be. Matt raised an eyebrow. He's not blind, but he still installed the rod after dinner. While I pretended to scroll on my phone, he drilled into brand new drywall, like it was no big deal. When it was done, I took a picture and sent it to Eric without thinking. He replied right away. Nice choice. That small message made my stomach drop, because it meant he understood what the curtains were really for. I pulled them closed and exhaled like I'd just shut a door I couldn't reopen. After the curtains went up, my days started to revolve around one thing. When Matt wasn't home, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet math. I knew which mornings he left early, which days he had late meetings, which weeks he'd be stuck in back-to-back calls. I started asking little questions, like it was normal. What time are you heading in tomorrow? And I listened too closely to the answer. Preschool drop-off became a timer. Some days, I paid for an extra 30 minutes without telling Matt. I told myself it was for errands, for my sanity, for getting things done. Then I'd sit in the driver's seat in the parking lot, phone in my hand, heart beating like I was doing something important. I messaged Eric. You can stop by if you need to. He already knew the address. I sent it anyway, like permission, before he came. I stood in the bathroom and fixed my hair, then caught my own eyes in the mirror and felt disgusted. Eric came during the day, like it was just another warranty visit. His truck pulled up, tires crunching the new driveway gravel, and my chest tightened before I even reached the door. I let him in, heard the soft click of the latch, and then without thinking, turned the deadbolt. It was one small twist of my wrist, but it felt heavy, final. The house sounded louder than it ever did with the kids gone. The fridge hummed. The AC kicked on. The wall clock in the kitchen kept ticking like it was making a point. Eric set his bag down, said something about the door, and I nodded too much. I'm not going to walk you through what happened. I'll just say it stopped being talking and became something I couldn't pretend was accidental. When he left, I stood in the bedroom staring at the bed like it belonged to someone else. I stripped the sheets fast, hands shaking, and shoved them into the washer. Like soap and spin cycles could erase a choice. I told myself it was one time. A slip, a bad decision in a quiet house. I even tried to act normal that afternoon. Picked up Ava, sang along to the radio, cut grapes in half like I always do, but my phone kept buzzing. And every time it did, my stomach jumped before I even looked. Eric didn't disappear after that. He was still in the neighborhood, still driving past, still on sight, still close enough that I could make an excuse. And he could make it real. And I kept replying, pretending it was harmless, because the words on the screen didn't look like what I'd already done. At home, I hid it in plain sight. I stayed busy. Dishes, laundry, bath time. If my hands were moving, maybe my mind wouldn't. Then one night, Matt glanced over while I was texting and asked, simple and tired, "Who are you messaging?" I answered too fast, too bright, just the mom's group chat. And the second the lie left my mouth, I knew I'd just made it bigger. After that lie, everything felt watchable. Like Matt could hear my thoughts, if he stood close enough. The stupid part is, the door really was still sticking, so Eric had a clean excuse to come by again. I picked a day. Matt was in the office, and told myself it was just a fix. Just a few minutes, just normal. Eric came in, did what he needed to do, and we kept it quiet, too quiet. When he left, I didn't relax. I went straight to the kitchen island and wiped it down. Slow and thorough, like fingerprints were evidence. Then I sprayed air freshener way too much, until the whole place smelled like fake linen. And panic. That afternoon I picked up the kids and tried to be soft. Tried to be mom. Ava climbed into my lap, while Miles threw toys on the rug. I hugged them too tight. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Ava looked up at me, touched my wrist, and asked, "Mommy, why are you shaky?" And I had no answer that wouldn't destroy her. A week later, Eric texted about an outlet issue. Quick check. 5 minutes. And this time, the kids were home. I should have said no. Instead, I told myself it would prove I could be normal. Like if nothing happened, maybe nothing had happened. Eric walked in, and I kept my distance on purpose, staying in the living room with Miles, while Ava played with blocks. I watched my own face in the hallway mirror, practicing casual. Eric crouched by the outlet, tools clicking, speaking in that calm work voice. Then Ava ran up and waved like she knew him. "Hi, Eric," she said. Bright and easy. My stomach dropped, because she wasn't wrong. He was familiar. That's what I'd made him. Later that night, Matt said, "Careful. I keep seeing that name. Eric. A lot." I smiled too hard. "It's just warranty stuff." Matt didn't argue. He just looked at me a beat longer than normal. Silent. Steady. And I knew he was starting to connect dots I'd been pretending weren't there. After Matt's silence, I started living like my phone was a weapon. I deleted threads, not just the obvious ones. Anything that looked too much. I turned off notifications on the lock screen. No previews, no names, no little banners that could ruin me in half a second. I kept my phone face down on the counter like it was polite. Matt noticed, of course. He didn't accuse me. That would have been easier. He just watched. One night, we were both in the kitchen, kids finally asleep, the dishwasher humming. His laptop closed for once. He looked at me and asked, quietly, "Are you okay?" I didn't even look up, just tired. And maybe I was. Tired of lying. Tired of being careful. Tired of carrying a secret that was starting to show in my hands and my voice. Then Matt reached for my phone casual, like he was moving it out of the way, right as it buzzed. The vibration was loud in the silence. Matt froze with my phone in his hand, eyes flicking to the screen I'd kept hidden. I snatched it back too fast, and that alone told the truth. "Who's texting you?" he asked. Flat. My chest went hot. Don't control me." The words came out sharp, defensive, like a reflex. Matt didn't raise his voice. That made it worse. I swung for something safer to fight about. Maybe if you actually helped more. If you weren't always outside or at work. I could hear myself building the argument like a wall. He just stared at me for a second and said, "I'm not trying to control you. You're just different." That landed because it was true, and I couldn't explain it without ripping our life open. I walked into the bathroom, shut the door, and slid down onto the tile floor, phone in my hand, breathing like I'd run. Then I texted Eric, "We need to be careful." After I texted, "We need to be careful." We did the dumb thing people do when they're scared. We tried to make it safer instead of stopping. Eric suggested the model home up the street quiet during the weekday. Staff gone, lights still on. It sounded practical. That's what I told myself. Practical. I parked around the side like I was afraid of being seen by someone who'd wave and ask how the kids were. Inside, the model home smelled like staged candles and new carpet. Everything looked perfect on purpose. Eric sat on the sofa like he belonged there, like it was just another day. I stared at that couch and thought, this is what I've become. Sneaking into a fake living room to ruin my real one. On the way home, I stopped at Target. Grabbed a couple random things I didn't need. When Matt asked, "Where were you?" I held up the bag like proof. Target. A tiny, ordinary lie delivered like a script. After that, Matt started being home more. At first, I thought it was coincidence work slowing down. A cancelled meeting. Then I realized he was watching the rhythm of the house the way I had. He cooked dinner without being asked. He bathed the kids. He folded tiny pajamas and put them away. Like he was trying to seal the cracks before they spread. It should have made me grateful. Instead, it made me tense. Because the nicer he was, the uglier I felt. I'd already gone too far to accept kindness cleanly. Eric texted in the middle of it all, "Miss you." Just 2 words. Nothing dramatic. But it pulled me into that other world like a hook in my cheek. I'd be stirring pasta with one hand and holding my phone low with the other, heart thumping like I was 16. One night, while I was rinsing dishes, Matt came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. I flinched hard, like a guilty person caught mid-crime, and he felt it. I know he did. By January, the house felt like it was holding its breath. Matt wasn't yelling. He wasn't even asking much anymore. He was watching quiet, tired, and sharp in a way I'd never seen. One night after the kids were asleep, I left my phone on the counter while I switched laundry. I came back and Matt was standing there with it. Not snooping like a cartoon villain, just staring at the screen like it had punched him. He didn't explode. He read. His face drained so fast it scared me more than anger would have. He looked up and said, very calmly, "Is it you and Eric?" I didn't answer. I couldn't find a lie that wouldn't insult him. He swallowed hard and asked, "Quieter. In this house." That's when his hand grabbed the edge of the kitchen island. His knuckles went white. Fingers locked like he needed something solid to keep from falling. No tears, no shouting, just that awful, controlled stillness like something in him had snapped clean in half. After that night, Matt did something I didn't expect. He tried. For a couple weeks, he moved like a man doing CPR on a marriage that had already stopped breathing. He suggested counseling. He made coffee in the morning and slid it toward me without looking up. He asked practical questions about the kids' schedule, like we were rebuilding trust one normal day at a time. And part of me wanted to grab onto it, because it would have been easier than facing what I'd done. Then he said his one condition, plain and steady. Eric is gone. No contact. Not ever. It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary. The kind people set when they still have self-respect. I stared at my hands and heard myself say, "I don't want that." Matt's jaw tightened. "Do you regret it?" he asked. I told the truth, because lying felt pointless now. No. And I watched his eyes change like a light turned off in a room I didn't realize he'd been keeping lit for me. After I told Matt I didn't regret it, he stopped trying to fix us and started protecting himself. It happened fast, but not in a dramatic way. More like a switch flipped. A couple days later, I came home with the kids and saw a small box on the porch. Ring cameras. By that weekend, there was one at every access point. Front door, back door, garage, Little black eyes angled just right. Matt changed the Wi-Fi password. Then the garage code. He didn't announce it with anger. He told me the way you tell someone the trash day changed. I need to know who comes in this house, he said. I wanted to say it was paranoid. I wanted to say it was cruel, but my throat tightened, because I knew exactly why he was doing it. I felt watched, yet I'd earned suspicion like a bill you can't argue with. That first night, one camera lit up with a tiny blue-green glow. In the dark hallway, it looked like the house had started staring back. The cameras were one kind of boundary. The bedroom was another. One afternoon, while I was folding kids' laundry on the couch, I heard a scrape from down the hall, slow, heavy, wrong. Then another. I walked toward the sound and saw Matt in the doorway of our bedroom. Silent, jaw set, hands under the edge of the mattress. He didn't talk. He just dragged it. The mattress scraped across the brand-new hardwood this long, rough sound that made my skin crawl. He hauled it down the hall and shoved it into the playroom, the space with toy bins and finger paint stains, like he was stripping the house of one more lie. "That's where you're sleeping," he said. Finally. Then he went back, pulled clean sheets from the closet, and laid them on the bedroom floor. Not the bed. The floor, like he couldn't stand to touch what we'd shared. But he also refused to leave the room entirely. I stood there with a pile of tiny pajamas in my arms, and I realized my apologies, whatever they were nowhere near the shape of what he needed. The mattress dragging wasn't furniture moving. It was a cut after the mattress moved. The next shift was paperwork. Matt didn't storm out. He scheduled things. He disappeared for an hour one afternoon and came back quieter than before, like he'd left part of himself in an office downtown. He told me he'd met with a lawyer. He mentioned proof in the same tone he'd use for a tax document flat. Factual. Then he said the lawyer advised going no fault anyway. Faster, cheaper, less mess in court. That sentence hit harder than yelling would have. It meant he wasn't trying to win anymore. He was trying to end it. Meanwhile, I started job hunting like my life depended on it. Receptionist roles, retail, admin support, anything with a schedule and a paycheck. Matt asked about custody, like it was a contract. I couldn't give a clean answer yet. He didn't argue. He grabbed a marker, wrote kid's schedule on a sticky note, and started mapping out days on the fridge boxes in arrows like a battle plan. Eric didn't disappear just because my marriage did. He still worked the development. He still drove those same streets. Like he belonged there, like I hadn't lit a match. In the middle of a neighborhood full of families. One afternoon we were in the car with the kids, heading home from preschool pickup, when Matt's grip tightened on the steering wheel. I followed his eyes and saw it. A company truck rolling past, logo on the door, moving slow like it had all the time in the world. Matt didn't chase it. He didn't flip it off. He didn't do anything. Later, he told me his lawyer said not to contact the employer yet. Don't poke the bear, basically. So he swallowed it. And that was somehow worse, watching him force himself to be controlled. I felt fear crawl up my throat, because I'd created a situation where two grown men were orbiting the same driveway. That night Matt said, calm and cold, he will never step inside this house again. Later I saw a printed page on the counter. No trespassing. Not filed. Not mailed, just placed where I couldn't miss it. After the kids' schedule went up on the fridge, the next thing that started appearing was boxes. Not moving company boxes, just whatever we had. Amazon cartons, old diaper boxes, black trash bags that felt uglier than cardboard. I packed in short bursts while the kids napped. Like if I moved fast enough, I wouldn't have to feel it. I walked past Ava's room and stopped. On her dresser was a crayon drawing, a stick figure family with a sun in the corner. Mommy and Daddy holding hands. I stood there longer than I meant to. I tried to talk to Matt Small. Careful sentences. We should figure out logistics. I'll keep looking for work. He didn't explode. He didn't comfort me. He just stayed cold, like ice you can't melt with words. Outside, a neighbor's mower droned on, steady and normal. Life kept running while mine sat open on the floor. I picked up Ava's drawing and didn't know where it belonged. My box. His box. Our kid's box. I realized I hadn't just lost my husband. I'd lost my role as the safe one. A couple days later, I saw Matt doing what he always did when he didn't know what to do. He took the kids outside. From the kitchen window, I watched him lead Ava and Miles into the backyard. Like it was a routine, like it was still our life. Ava ran straight to the little play area he built, laughing hard enough I could hear it through the glass. Miles tripped in the gravel, fell on his hands, then pushed himself back up like nothing happened. Matt hovered close, steady, eyes scanning the fence line the way he always did. He looked at that yard, like it was the only thing left that made sense, the only thing he could point to and say, I did this. This is real. I stayed inside. I didn't step out, because I didn't know what my presence would do to that moment. Then Matt knelt by the slide and tightened a single loose screw small, quiet, precise. It wasn't about the screw. It was a statement. This is for the kids, not for us. And in that second, I understood why he might keep the house. After I saw Matt tighten that screw on the slide, the house stopped being ours in my head and started being a problem he had to solve. He began running numbers the way he always does when he's scared, quietly, relentlessly. I'd hear him on the phone with daycare asking about rates. I'd see spreadsheets open on his laptop late at night, the glow hitting his face like a second screen of reality. He talked out loud, not to me, more like to the air. Moving costs, a security deposit if he rented, child support possibilities, the fact that he wouldn't be paying my car stuff forever. Then, flatly, I can refinance. The rate already sucks, so it's not like I'm losing a great one. But the numbers weren't the point. I could see it in the way his eyes kept drifting down the hallway. He'd look toward the bedroom, pause, then turn away like the sight hurt. One evening, for the first time, he shut the bedroom door hard. The slam cracked through the new house like it finally admitted what it was holding. That slam stayed in my body the next morning. While I got ready for a job interview, I put on a plain blouse, cheap mascara, hair pulled back, trying to look like someone employable, not someone unraveling. I had two options for where to live once I left. Close to the kids' preschool and Matt's place, or farther out where rent was lower. Every choice had a price. And I could feel it before I even signed anything. Matt didn't argue with me anymore. He communicated like a manager. That afternoon, he slid a piece of paper across the kitchen counter. No speech, no emotion. A list of what I needed to take on moving day. Clothes, toiletries, documents, the kids' items we'd agreed on. It was neat, bullet points, efficient. I read down the page, and my throat tightened at the last line. Keys, one word, sitting by itself, like a final instruction, like the house had stopped, being something I lived in and become something I had to return. The keys line sat in my head for 2 days until I finally snapped. Not in a dramatic way, just in that tired, cornered way where you need to say something, or you'll choke on it. Matt was packing the kids' lunchboxes at the counter, calm like a person who's already decided the ending. I said, I'm still their mom. Matt. He didn't look up. Yeah, he said. And you're the one who brought them into this. That stung so bad. I reached for the only weapon I had left blame. You're not perfect either, I shot back. You have faults. You weren't here. You. Matt finally turned and looked straight at me. His voice stayed even. My faults didn't make you cheat. There was nothing to say after that. No argument that didn't sound pathetic. He reached to his hand, slid off his wedding ring, and placed it on the kitchen island. He didn't throw it. He didn't slam it. He just set it down like a finished task. That quietness was the loudest thing I'd heard in months. Moving day didn't feel like a breakup. It felt like checkout. I walked through the house with a cardboard box in my arms, stopping in doorways like I was visiting someone else's place. The living room still had Ava's fingerprints on the glass door. The pantry still had the snacks I always bought. Nothing looked ruined. That was the cruel part. It all looked normal. I passed the bedroom and saw the thick curtains I'd insisted on. For the look, I'd said, they hung there, heavy and quiet, like they'd been waiting to testify. At the front door, the Ring camera stared down at me. A little blue light blinked when it caught motion. I remembered Matt installing it without raising his voice. Ava tugged my sleeve and asked, soft, Mommy, are you coming back tonight? My mouth opened, but I couldn't promise anything I didn't control anymore. "I'll see you soon. Baby," was all I managed. I stepped outside. The door closed behind me. Then from inside one small sound, click, the deadbolt. And just like that, a whole chapter ended without a fight. I had an affair in the brand new house we'd lived in for 5 months, with the project manager tied to that house. Matt can keep it. The kids love the backyard he built, and he can afford the mortgage. But he'd also be keeping the place where his trust was broken in plain daylight, behind those thick curtains I insisted on. I don't get to vote on what he does next. I get consequences. That's the cleanest truth I've learned. Here's what I wish I understood sooner. Attention isn't love. Secrecy isn't freedom. A small lie doesn't stay small, it multiplies. And it always finds the kids eventually, even if they don't know the details. And the person you hurt most isn't always the one you're angry at. It's often the one who's quietly carrying the whole family. A decision about a house is never just real estate. It's a decision about peace, who gets it, who loses it, and what it costs to get it back. All right, let May be painfully clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern, and it showed up fast. A stranger asked you something stupid at a bar, you said no, and Mark turned you from wife to suspect. That's red flag number 1, suspicion, without proof. Then he started the classic toxic combo, moving the goalpost, demanding the truth after you already gave it, and treating your calm as evidence. That's not concern. That's control wearing a suit. And when someone blocks the exit, when your "I need air" becomes "why are you running?" that's not love. That's a power test. The moment he rewrote the story, you pushed me, you escalated. That's gaslighting 1. Oh, 1. Not loud, not messy, just cold, tidy cruelty. So here's your takeaway straight up. Your no is a full sentence. You don't audition for basic respect. You don't negotiate reality with someone who benefits from you doubting yourself. If you're hearing this and your stomach drops, trust that. Red flags don't get greener with time. To the villain of this story, karma doesn't need your permission. It just keeps receipts. And to you, sweetheart, this debt, May clears it. But remember, these eyes are always watching. Don't let your name end up on May's blacklist next episode. Hit subscribe, because around here, justice doesn't show up late. It shows up ready. A final note from the library. While these stories find their roots in the halls of Reddit, they are artistically reimagined to speak to the heart. Any likeness to reality is mere coincidence. The emotions, however, are very real. Walk with empathy, and let justice lead the way. Thank you for watching.